Yo, what's up, guys? This is D Brown with Track Headz, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Track Headz. So, right now we have a nice story time. We're going to be talking about the first time I broke 22 seconds for the freaking 200-meter dash. Okay, 22 seconds for the 200-meter dash. I only did it one time, officially one time, FAT time in a track meet. I've done it in practice a couple times. I just wasn't able to get it together in an actual track meet. But like I said, you know, it's never too late. I'm still in pretty good shape, so maybe one day I'll see if I can break it. But like I said, to get to the story, first time I broke 22 seconds in a 200-meter dash. So very interesting race, very interesting time period. I was in college. It was like my junior year in college. I was basically, again, training myself. You know, I was training with a couple athletes in college, but, you know, we were all just doing workouts that I was coming up with. And ironically enough, I was training for the 400. And I was training for the 400 not as a usual 400-meter runner. So, and what I mean by that is, in the previous post, you guys probably heard me talk about like running the 400 and doing the 500s and doing the 450s and being really strong. This particular year, I was more fast and strong, right? So I was able to run the 49s, 6 and 49.5. I truly believe that I was in 48 shape that year, or even 47 shape that year, but I was just more fast than I was strong. And because of that, that speed in the 400, it allowed my 200 to be at a point where I was just gone, you know? So long story short, let's just, you know, start to really get into the nitty gritty of things. So my PRs for that season were 10.90. You know, my season's best for that season was 10.90. And it was 49 and some change. So that particular season, I was really strong. My lactic levels were good. I was doing workouts like 3 times 350s, 5 minutes rest. I was doing 450s. I was doing, you know, 150s. I was doing 250s. I was doing a lot of things. My lactic levels were really, really good. And I got to the point where I was able to sprint and hold that turnover for a very, very, very long time. And that, I mean, to be able to do that, I mean, it took a lot out of my legs. It took a lot of hard practices. It took a lot of repetition. But I gained the ability to, if I wanted to, shift gears the same way that you would see an athlete, you know, run the last 150 of a 400. I was able to, because of those kind of workouts and really suffering through a lot of those workouts, I was able to almost like run the back half of a 200 the same way that some people will run the back half of a 400. So I was able to push out to 95, 99, you know, really relaxed, like 95%. And then in that last 120, I was able to push off the curve and just turn over, and that turnover would not slow down until I hit, you know, the line. So, you know, I did a lot of workouts to get to there, you know. Like I said, it was my first time coaching myself in a collegiate sense with other athletes, and it was a tough year, you know. But like I said, I was doing a lot of those lactic workouts, and it got to the point where I opened up in like a 22.2 in like 40-degree weather that year in March. So I was really, you know, that whole March, pre-April, I was really just hovering at like 22.2. I was running 22.3s, 22.4s, 22.2s, 22.3s. The slowest time I ran that year was probably like a 22.4 in lane 1. And I was just, you know, hitting the times. I was running my 400s. I was opening up in 49.9, and then I ran 49 and some change, and I went 50, and it was just fluctuating all over the place. And I remember I did a couple workouts that really just cemented the fact that, okay, I'm gonna be able to hit these times. So I remember doing this workout with my homie David, which I did an interview with, if you want to check that. You know, we did a really difficult workout. We did 3 times 250s, and it was supposed to be at 400-meter pace. So we were really keen on making sure we don't run too fast in practice. So we ran these at like 90%. We ran, really it was 255 meters, and we ran 30, 30, and 30. We ran all of them in 30, pretty much 30 seconds. Really just focusing on, again, on the back half of that 250. So pushing out to 90% or 85%, and then sprinting, really making sure we finish strong. And that enabled us to be, you know, to have that strength in our legs, that when we're tired and when we're in a state of fatigue, we could keep it going. You know, we did those runs with 8 minutes rest, very, very hot conditions. You know, I was doing 60-meter flies, 90-meter flies, where I would give myself a 30 and then sprint the 60 fly. I would give myself a 30 and sprint the 30 fly. You know, my ability to turn over was just really, really good. So I will never forget this meet. I remember running this meet. I ran it with, I believe his name is Terrence. Is it Terrence Trammell? He was a 4x1 guy in London, and in 2008, he was always their first leg. Hell of a starter. No, Terrence Trammell is a hurdler, excuse me. So I forgot his name, but basically he was a beast. This was in Mississippi I ran the meet at, but he was in the heat. So he was in the heat. He was like a 10-0 guy, 10-1 guy, and he was running the 200 for some like strength work. There was also another guy who was a 20.8 guy. He was in lane 4. I was in lane 6. So again, I came into that race with a 22.2 PR at the beginning of the year, and I was just like, you know, I know I can run this race. Oh, but before we even get there, so here's how I knew that I was able to go 22 seconds or under 22, because I was running 4x2s, and I was in first, you know, I was running first leg. So there were two indications that let me know, like, yo, if I find a good race, I'm gonna be able to run it. The first one was that when there were three reasons. So when I opened up in my first 400 of the year, I went 49.9, but I ran 34.8 to the first 300, and it felt easy. So that's the fastest I ever ran to the 300, and I just obviously died in the last 100, but I was able to run 34.8, so I felt really, really great. That's one. Number two, when I ran, what was number two? Dang, I forgot number two. But number one was that, you know, like that 400 was real nice. When I ran, I was running 4x2s, right? So I was running 4x2 with my teammates first leg. And there were guys that I knew from other teams that were running like 20.8, 21.2, 21.3. And I was beating them or staying right even with them when it came time for the exchange, even considering the stagger. So I know it had, you know, the 4x2 has a big stagger, but I was able to hand off to my guy at the same time they were. So I'm like, either they're running, you know, slower, because again, I was in 22.2 shape open, or I'm getting faster, and my week by week, I'm just getting in better and better shape. One day I even timed myself, and again, I have to start from the blocks, everything. One day I timed myself in the first, you know, 200 of a 4x2, and I split 21.2. So I was just like, yo, where'd that come from? You know, it was very easy. I felt very bouncy. I was bouncing on this freaking backstretch of the first 200, and I just felt great. So, you know, having that fast 300, having the fast 4x2 split, and the fact that my practices were just going really, really well, really, you know, brought home the fact that, yo, I think I can actually do this. So fast forward again to this 200. This was at a Mississippi a meet. I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it was called, but it was in Mississippi. So it was really hot, really humid that day, and I'm running the 200. I ran my 400 for that meet. I went 49.66. Even split it, I went like 24.6 at the 200, and then came back in 25. So I was just like, okay, I feel kind of strong, but you know, it was a really tough race because I probably could have went 48 that day if I would have actually ran that first 200 like I was supposed to. And my body control was just all over the place. I had a lot of weaknesses in my hips during that year. But I came back in the 200. I took it out the first 90, got into a nice rhythm, you know, slowly came up, got into a nice rhythm. I'm coming off the curve. I'm injecting more and more speed, and I was able to just hold it and hold it and hold it and hold it and hold it. And I kept it going, and then I went 21.86. So I was just like, yo, my ability to hold my turnover is the reason why I was able to run that race. Mind you, my season's best was only a 10.9. Right, if you want to figure out, you know, a good indication of your potential in the 200 is taking your 100 and doubling it, assuming that you're in pretty good 400 meter shape. So 10.9, that's a 21.8. I was in pretty good shape, you know. So I think I could have went faster because I was definitely faster than the 10.9, but it was just very hard to balance the two. Very, very hard to balance the two, where I want to be fast for the 400 and I want to be fast for the 100. I also want to make sure I stayed healthy too. I was a little bit older. I was like 21, 22 compared to, you know, back when I first broke 50 seconds. So I wanted to make sure my hamstring was okay. Plus I was dealing with a lot of stuff that year. just in terms of the coaching and the, you know, school and stuff like that. So I was really happy with just the fact I was able to PR like that. So yeah, that was the first time I broke 22 seconds. Really short and sweet story compared to my my 400-meter story. But like I said, hopefully this helps somebody. Like I said, the key things I worked on my flies, 60-meter flies. But biggest strength that year wasn't my acceleration. It wasn't how fast I was able to get to top speed. It was the fact that when I got to top speed, I did not slow down. Very similar to like how you see Noah Lyles runs his races. You know, his ability to just hold his turnover, not now, but like years previous, his ability just to hold his turnover. I was really good at that. And again, you know, doing the necessary work in the 400. I believe I definitely left a lot on the table in the 400. I think I could have went 48, possibly even 47. You know, beginning in March, I was running 34 through the 300. And it was pretty easy, but like I said, the lack of coaching and just, it was a lot of turbulent stuff that year. So I was just able to, the fact I was able to PR and everything really just made me happy. So yeah, I hope you gathered a lot of information from this meet, or excuse me, not the meet, but this story. So hopefully I was able to help somebody. And without further ado, this is D Brown with Track Headz. Hope you like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Peace.